Well, welcome once again to SoCalSportsReport.com's weekly podcast. John Stellman here with Vince Morales and Jake Fomensky. I just want to thank Vince for filling in last week. He did an admirable job. I think we should probably switch chairs.
I'm comfortable right where I am. I'm glad you're back.
You've raised the bar so high. I don't know if I can continue your
not at all. Not at all.
Anyway,
glad you're back.
We had a good, nice night away. Went to an Angel game with my brother-in-law Tim and his girlfriend Muriel and my wife Josie. That was a 10-1 game, which was enjoyable. So back at it tonight, and a lot to talk about. We're going to start off with the Rams and the Chargers. Two local teams playing in an exhibition game. What did we get? 58,000 at the Coliseum.
That seems about right.
It was entertaining. Like you say, these games don't mean a heck of a lot. What the Chargers offense was going against the Rams' number 2 line.
McVay decided they weren't going to play many of the starters at all. Gave them a week off.
So
hard to judge. Exactly what's happening there. But like last week, I want to reiterate the thing that the fight for LA cannot be won if you don't sign Aaron Donald. So
exactly, yeah.
Get him signed. Get him in back.
I don't know what the holdup is. I
think they know what the price it needs to be, and they need to get there quick.
Let's just get him going and get him in camp and get him ready. I mean, you're getting to the point now where he's going to could miss the opener.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
Yeah. What I was saying last week was, Fletcher Cox of the Eagles, 108, 110 million, and Dominican Sue, 120 million. It's likely going to be something like that for Aaron Donald.
Right.
And there should be no quibbling.
Yeah, you got parameters. You know what other guys are, what the values are.
That's right. And if they have enough money to sign Eric Dickerson for one day, no, I'm kidding. They signed him for a day so he can retire around tomorrow.
That's right. But no, I don't know why they're because the figure that they, I'll bet you you'll never know, but the figure they probably talked about a month ago is probably the figure they'll sign him for him. They're just wasting time. I mean, I don't think there's much negotiations going on. I mean, like you say, they had an idea what they were going to give him.
Yeah.
And,
they know what he's worth,
exactly.
His youth, the kind of numbers that he's put up, what he means to that defense. Exactly. This is not some, running backs now have become sort of a dime a dozen. Somebody excels for a year or two, and, we saw it with Gurley. He had a great rookie year, and then not so great, and who knows what he's going to be. And Le'Veon Bell is, I don't know if he's signed or if he's holding out. But running backs are a commodity.
Right.
Linemen are not. Guys who can get tackles for losses and sacks, those type of game changers are a premium.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and he's one of the best, if not the best.
No, he's great, and he's the anchor on that defense, and I hope it's all just posturing because, like I said, look, if at least we know he's healthy, right? He hasn't been practicing.
He couldn't have hurt himself.
Yeah, he couldn't have hurt himself. So.
Let's just hope that they get that done and done quickly. Any bright spots on the Rivers looked good in the first couple of series, but then again you're going against the second defensive line, the second line of linebackers, I think. But it's hard to, like you say, it's hard to judge how good they really were. I mean.
It is. I think they coming into the summer, they're probably in a better spot than the Rams. They likely will start the season better off, likely to be better, win more games. But they've had some problems on that offensive line.
Yeah.
They've got to keep Rivers off of his back. I don't know. I don't know. I think the verdict is still out on whether or not their defense can hold teams.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see they saw last year. I mean, if you're a diehard Chargers fan, it was like, God, they were so close, and that record could have easily been.
Oh yeah, fourth quarters.
You know,
Take
but
those fourth quarters away. Killed them. Yeah, they played a good 43, 44 minutes of football last year. But, you got to close it out.
Absolutely.
Got to close it out.
Yeah, and again, I'm looking at a depth chart, and I'm seeing Mike Williams on the depth chart for the Chargers, and
why?
Yeah, are we sure that's?
Yeah,
is he coming back?
Sounds like not till what, halfway through the year.
I wouldn't think so, right?
Yeah,
that was the latest report.
Oof, that's getting harder and harder to swallow.
Well, like you say, I think you made some good points previously about McCaffrey. I mean, it was a big mistake in the first place too. He had the injury history in college. You could have taken a guy that can do some running for you, get outside, be a pass receiver, versatile.
Really versatile, and somebody, that you can target as well as check down to.
Right.
For Rivers, that's exactly the kind of guy that he needs, especially if the line, which line is going to show up, right? If the guys that keep him on his feet are
exactly
those that are going to let him, on his back. He's just too old, too old now at this point to be getting bum rushed.
And like everybody says, I mean, the Chargers better hope he does not get hurt because there's nothing behind him. Nothing behind him.
No.
It's Rivers or bust.
That's right.
Well, especially too because, if he gets hurt, that stadium's already not selling out, and if he gets, if he goes, on the
he's one of your drawing cards.
You're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the other thing too that they probably should have figured out.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing because it's one of those things where it's so small that it's less than 30,000 or right around 30,000, and they've sold out all of their season tickets, but okay, they're sold out. They're sold, right?
Right.
But is it going to be Charger blue, or is it going to be the other team? And if they start losing.
That's right.
And people start selling those tickets, ironically, on StubHub for the StubHub Center. It's going to be a bummer to see Raider fans and Chiefs fans outnumbering this team, and it's not going to take much. And everybody, south of Orange County is just waiting with bated breath for them to fail.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. Not that they, and I've listened to a lot of San Diego sports radio, and boy, you couldn't listen to a more vindictive and spiteful group of people. It's like, your minor league is showing San Diego. It's been bad. I mean, it's been bad. It's like, well, I don't wish any, injury on anybody, but it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Settle down. So and now I hear them. They're talking about soccer and Major League Lacrosse. Okay, San Diego.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll get an NFL team back. It's just bitter. They're just bitter.
Yeah, they're trying to fill the void they can't do.
They're bitter. Yeah. They're bitter. And it's hard to listen to because you like San Diego to be competitive in something, but my God.
They certainly aren't competitive in baseball.
No, not right now.
Especially, too, Dan Fouts coming out today and saying, kind of throwing, the whole Chargers, franchise under the bus.
Under the bus.
I don't know. That's a...
Right.
What was his quote for people that might not have heard it?
He's just being,
he was being honest, but he was just saying how, it's a shame that, the Chargers are basically in LA and the Spanos family needs to, figure it out, and how it was basically a shame for them to leave San Diego.
Look, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I think people need to get over
that ship has sailed, and San Diego has nobody to blame but themselves. I remember listening. I listen to San Diego sports radio a lot.
Yeah,
I listen to it a lot, and over the years, they have just failed consistently because there's a lot of distractions there. And I heard a guy from the San Diego Tribune, a sports writer, like 3 years ago saying, you know what? If San Diego loses the Chargers, we'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And I thought, Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
What are you smoking?
Yeah, the people who surf and are not football fans or are not sports fans and don't want their tax dollars going to stadiums. Oh, okay. Yeah, they're going to be fine. But the sports, topography will not be fine. Because look at you now, San Diego. You've got San Diego Padres, and that's it.
Yeah.
And the way that they are behaving, who wants to put a football team there? If the person who does, any owner who does, knows that city's not going to be behind the funding of it. That's not going to happen.
No,
They've had plenty of chances.
Yeah, 15 years.
And the NFL has said, that stadium sucks. If you want another Super Bowl, you have to have a new stadium. Otherwise, you're a perfect city for a Super Bowl. But we're not having a Super Bowl there until you build a new stadium.
Yeah.
And most of San Diego just said, so.
That's a big economic hit because I think Goodell came right out a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, and said, you'll be in the regular rotation.
Absolutely.
How much money does the Super Bowl bring in, over a 2-week period of time?
Especially when you hear some of the rumors about where they were going to build that new stadium, right behind Petco. I mean, downtown San Diego, you got the Chargers and Padres right there. I mean, who wouldn't want to go down there?
Yeah.
And now, now the bitterness of the Chargers, it's like, God, you can support. Sure, you don't want to support the Spanos family. Oh, okay, that's fine.
Right.
But that's still Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
That's still your guys that you were rooting for. You don't want to give them money and go to the games. That's fine. They're getting money from the NFL and from their TV contract. You're gonna watch them, but don't watch them to hope somebody gets hurt or watch them lose or whatever. Because any team you're gonna get is not gonna move to San Diego. You're going to get like an expansion team, and they're going to suck for a long time.
They'll be worse than the Chargers.
Yeah, they're going to be much, much worse. And you don't, the devil rather than the devil you don't, who knows what kind of owners you're going to get at that point. And whoever comes in is going to ask for money. They're going to ask for money to at least subsidize some of the stadium. We know this. Right. Otherwise, you get people coming in and saying, hey, I want to build a Major League Soccer field, and I want to build a Major League lacrosse arena and try to woo an NBA. It's like, good luck.
Yeah, don't.
Good luck in 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah.
Maybe your kid's kid will enjoy an NBA team. Ugh, it's really bad, and it's hard, to listen to San Diego fans and even the broadcasters down there just be so venomous.
Oh yeah,
towards them. I don't think everybody's totally jumped ship. They're hurt. Their feelings are hurt. They're sad about it. But that's still Phillip Rivers. I mean, and that guy gave his heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears for that team.
That's right.
And for that city.
Yep, exactly. What are your early impressions of Gurley? 3 exhibition games. Is he going to be another?
I said last week I'm
year?
worried.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the line. I'm worried about him hitting the holes. It's just like, you get in the culture of losing, and you kind of stay in that culture. He's getting in this culture of not breaking tackles, of getting hit as he crosses the line of scrimmage. And it's got to do something to your psyche. I mean, he
looks timid when he's running.
Oh my God, he does.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's hurt, or a little banged up, a little dinged up, but I'm not convinced. Again, it's still exhibition season. It's preseason.
Yeah, it's almost like looking at that. His rookie year is we didn't see the real Todd Gurley there because he hasn't been able to duplicate what he did. I don't know if he was. I just can't figure out the difference between the first year and the second year unless.
It was a more balanced offense. The defense was very good. Kept that. But then it was just a matter of. Who was their quarterback at the time? Was it? Bradford or whoever a couple of years ago. I can't remember who their starting guy was when Gurley was going. But it was more balanced. And then it was Keenum and then it was Keenum waiting for the other shoe to drop with with Goff, and he had to know. I mean, Keenum had to know that they've given up all of these draft picks, and they're just biding their time.
Exactly.
And again, the line was bad, and
a lot of holes.
They couldn't pass. Why not just? Why wouldn't teams just load up the box?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
And I think that's the if you're optimistic about where the Chargers are going and what Gurley can do this season, and if he can return to that style of running that he had when he was a rookie, then you think, okay, they've tightened some things up on the line. They look a little more balanced. They have a new offensive scheme, a new plan of attack. That'll help.
Right.
I haven't quite seen that yet. I've seen maybe a quarter in the exhibition of really lights out, really good, consistent, balanced Goff and Gurley on the field together. I'm not convinced that they're going to win more than 5 games.
Why do we even play? The exhibition season is really a pretty much of a joke. I mean, they didn't play anybody in this game. The Rams have already said they're not going to play anybody next week. I mean, they don't need that much game experience after training camp to get ready for the season, do they? What's wrong with playing a couple of games and then let's go?
Yeah. I think it's all about preparation and reps. The time is going to be the same, right?
Basically.
I mean, whether you fill it up with games or with practice, guys are going to get hurt. They need to have full contact at some point. I don't think 4 is the right number, but I don't think 0 is the right number either.
No, I wouldn't say it.
I think if they would start a little bit later, maybe move it to 3. Because, I mean, the first 3 weeks of the preseason, I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't been that impressed because it's, our first-team defense is coming out, but we're facing their 3rd or 4th string defense, and it's just like, you're changing by the first quarter, and it's like, this is pointless. So I don't know. I think a lot to do with it is money as well with the NFL.
Yeah, and this preseason has been a little funky. In the past, there would be the tiered cuts. So after an exhibition game, they'd be mandated to get down to a certain level. Then they'd be mandated to get down to a certain level, and then by the end of the exhibition, they're down to their final, 54 or however many it is. And this year, it was like you can cut guys, but you're not mandated to get to a level until the end of preseason.
Yeah. And Saturday is right?
Yeah, because that's their last exhibition.
Last
exhibitions, and that's it. And then games start on Thursday, a week from Thursday, and that's when they're. But in the past, what you've had is guys fighting to make it to the next week. And then fighting to make it to the next cut, and then fighting to make the final team, or at least the taxi squads, or whatever they need to. So it's been a little funky in that regard. I don't know. I've never been in a camp. I don't have any idea, how that's affected them. You keep more guys around longer. And I think, the NFLPA probably likes that, that guys are getting kept on, and they thought that maybe that would help minimize injuries. Maybe. But I don't know what kind of impact that's going to have. But, I think that's the way it's going to be from here to forward. But and if you're not cutting, do they really need to have these games? And then they have those those intramural.
Practice squad.
They practice, against. They go down to Carolina or whatever, and watching Hard Knocks, Tampa Bay and the Jaguars or Carolina. I can't remember who they were playing, but they just have practice scrimmages against each other. Yeah. Guys still get hurt, but lacing them up and getting the pads on.
Yeah.
Guys are going to get hurt. And again, it's just about, one less game, right? One less game.
Yeah.
But to have, if they want to expand, as Goodell and other NFL guys have wanted to extend the regular season, add games to the schedule, you can't continue to have 4 exhibitions.
No.
I mean, you can't. You know, if they did away with 2 exhibitions and added, a game
Yeah.
or whatever, another bye week or whatever, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Let's take a look at the college. I did a little research on Western Michigan. Maybe you guys have done some too. But they, of course, they had a breakout year last year, 13-1. But they're going to be a mess, I think. A mess this year. They lost their quarterback.
Well, their coach for first.
Their coach. Yeah, they got.
And the first-round NFL draft pick, their wide receiver Corey Davis, went 5th overall to the Titans.
Overall, yep, exactly.
Zach Terrell, their quarterback, was undrafted, but free agent. But I don't think he's going to make. I think he got cut by the Ravens.
Now they're going to. I think Tim Flacco is going to. Inexperienced, but looks like he might be the starter. Joe Flacco's brother.
He might.
Yeah.
I heard that it was the other kid, the redshirt sophomore, John Wasink, who
could be, it could be either one.
So I know he had taken over the starting position from Flacco, Flacco's little brother, over this, when they first got back to camp. So, they're returning 15 starters. It's not a, but that's not going to be a 13-1. I mean, their one loss, they went undefeated into that final week, into the Cotton Bowl against Wisconsin, and so, that's 15 returning starters from a 13-1 MAC team. I don't think USC has anything to worry about. They're a 28-point favorite. The over/under in that is 58.5, which shakes out to be a 43-15 win for the Trojans. But Western Michigan has a pretty good running game. It had a couple of running backs that were one over 1,000 yards and one very close.
Two guys.
Two guys in the backfield. So they're going to run the ball.
Javon Franklin and Jamari Bogan.
Yeah. So they've got some good. They've got 8 guys returning on defense, including that Spillane, who's their linebacker. 111 tackles last year.
Yep.
I mean, he's 10.5 tackles for losses. But this ain't the MAC. This is USC. They're playing on the road at the Coliseum.
Yeah, this is
so.
Cool. Plus, I've got all their Darius Phillips in the secondary. They got everybody back in the secondary. But
that guy's good. I mean, that guy's good. 4 interceptions. He returned 3 of them for touchdowns. I mean, he's a good player. Look, there's not. They weren't 13-1 for nothing. I mean, they got there legitimately, but with a redshirt sophomore who's never taken a snap, who's likely going to be the guy.
They got a lot of holes.
Yeah.
They've only got one returning on the defensive line. Andrew Turner is the only returning starter, so there's going to be holes there. They allowed over 200 yards a game 5 times last year. So their defense needs to be shored up, or the Trojans will just run that ball into the ground. They got to be able to stop the run, which I don't see them doing.
No, I mean, I think Western Michigan has a puncher's chance with, those types of running backs.
Yeah.
It's all going to depend on whether this kid, Wasink, has any poise at all and can keep them in a game. They get to believing. But the USC is so deep, and now that the sanctions are a thing of the, distant past,
Right.
I'm looking at the depth chart for the Trojans, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, there is so much talent. The third string on this team could
they got guys that could start it.
Yeah, they could beat up on that.
Yeah.
In the MAC. So, you worry about a big play or, just little nerves and things going on. But this is not a USC team that's playing a lot of freshmen like they had to when there were sanctions.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they got experience now.
Yeah, they're very deep.
Yeah.
I think there's some concern, the wide receivers and that sort of thing. Still some injuries with guys, and with their tight end Daniel Amaterbebe. His little brother is in the mix at the wide receiver, Josh. They've got Jalen Green, who's like their third string quarterback, who they would put in, I think,
right, yeah,
in front of Jack Sears to keep his red shirt. Deontay Burnett had his coming out party at the Rose Bowl. The other wide receiver, he's going to be very good. And then Steven Mitchell and Michael Pittman has the hurt ankle. Mitchell's been a little dinged up. But there's Tyler Vaughns, who is a freshman, who's going to get playing time and going to get reps.
right.
And Velus Jones, who is a speedster. And those are names to watch out for, because once they're going to get guys a lot of reps against Western Michigan.
Oh yeah. Be like an NFL exhibition game. Probably won't see your starters after halftime.
Probably not. No.
Well, hopefully not, unless it's something weird happens. But again, Western Michigan has some experience. They're just not at quarterback. Brand new coach. Whether they've signed on or not. USC doesn't have a kicker. Their special
that's
teams,
the only real
that's
problem.
the thing, is that somebody is going to have to establish themselves very quickly as the guy, because it's you got the Stanford you got the Cardinal next week.
Yeah, that's going to be critical. Yeah, that's their only really real weakness, is the punt or not the punt, but the field goal and the PATs.
Yeah.
What about Texas A&M? The coach down there is on the hot seat. Everything I've read is he's had 8 and 5 seasons the last 4 years, and that's not going to be good enough this year. And the prognosticators aren't too encouraged. One guy said maybe 7 and 5, but that's not going to keep him there. Simlin is not going to may not survive the season. He's
well. I like Sumlin. I think he's a good coach. I think, like a lot of these these schools, they sort of expect, they have high expectations. When they moved into the in the SEC, you're in the SEC, your expectations go through the roof. I would venture to say that if Sumlin's on the hot seat, Mora should be too. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, I think that's
now
very
in
similar.
LA, public school, UCLA, don't want to go through it. We heard Chris Foster say that he doesn't think that Dan Guerrero, the AD, wants to go through that. That Jim Mora is a good fit for them academically, athletically. So, but as a USC fan and a guy looking in, it's like you can't have another 4-8 season.
No.
And I think he should be just as much on the hot seat as Kevin Sumlin. So, and that's not a great A&M team, and UCLA it's essentially a neutral field wash, because UCLA is like a 3-point favorite, 3.5, 3-point favorite. So if that were being played at A&M, likely be a 3-point A&M favorite.
They've had problems establishing a quarterback there too since Johnny Manziel left. They've had five out of the last 6 years. They've had competition in camp for quarterbacks because they had no stability or nobody they could count on. 7 of the 9 receivers are gone. I don't know. They're still 44 and 22 in the last 6 years under Sumlin, but the problem is they've lost 12 of their last 18 games in the conference, and that's what maybe they should have stayed where they were.
Well, that's always been sort of the funny thing for me, is that the SEC, everybody in the SEC, it's like it's the greatest conference known to man, et cetera, et cetera. And then when A&M and Missouri came in for the first time, it was like, this ain't hard.
Yeah.
This this ain't so hard. Missouri was right there on the at the top, and A&M with Manziel was right there at the top. So it's like, don't tell me, that the SEC is so badass when Missouri and Texas A&M, you can bring them in.
Yeah.
You think they're going to be,
walkovers.
Exactly roadkill.
Especially because the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are getting better. I think those two are going to probably fight it out to be in the best conference. Because the SEC, if you look at it, besides Alabama, they've had Ole Miss, LSU, Florida's been hanging in there, but other than that, it's been kind of down years for those schools. And then the Big Ten and Pac-12 are getting better and better each year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Well, of course, the ESPN, they'll always keep the SEC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's their guy. They'll keep them pumped up, and whether they're bad or not, you're going to see them
keep
every
washing their golf balls for them.
You'll
No
see
question.
plenty of that.
I think, the other thing is, A&M, the thing that A&M needs to worry about is Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
Rosen can be dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
He had some up and down. He threw for a lot of yards most of the time because they just weren't able to run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why he got, in the 6 games he did play last year, he amassed a lot of statistics, but it wasn't a very balanced offense.
Right.
And, good quarterbacks can, but it's when they're forced into those situations where they're throwing just a couple too many and they throw a pick, and that's going to be the problem again this year for UCLA. It's whether that line can keep them upright. They lost a kid, Lacey, I think. He's out, ACL tear, gone for the season. They didn't need that. It's not their left tackle. It's not the guy protecting Rosen's blind side, but it's a devastating loss. It's significant, and especially when they're trying to establish a run game. So that's but if Rosen is throwing 45 passes, A&M got to watch out. Mm-hmm. They got to get takeaway or something to stay in that game. But it's gonna be very interesting. School hasn't started at UCLA.
Right.
Those crowds at the Rose Bowl, it is cavernous. What kind? How is A&M going to travel? Are the kids going to show up for those early games?
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's always interesting to watch UCLA in those early games when school hasn't quite started. But as Rosen goes, so go the Bruins.
Saw that last year.
Mm-hmm.
No. And unfortunately, they need a running game to balance it out. They absolutely need it. They got to have it. It's got otherwise defenses in the Pac-12 will start to tee off. They'll just blitz and stunt and
Yeah, well, the same thing with the Rams. I mean, if Goff can't get a passing game going, they're just going to shut that running game right down. They're not going to have to worry about it.
Especially in that conference.
Switch gears to a little bit of baseball. Clayton comes back Friday, I guess. Bellinger comes back tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
And Darvish came back on Sunday.
Didn't look sharp. Throws too many. Still throws too many pitches. I mean, keeps them in the game, but that's not a postseason quality start.
Yeah, command wasn't there.
His command of that fastball just was not there. And again, time off. You get him back in the rotation, and I think we'll see a little bit of the same from Kershaw as well. This is, again, look, they're 19 games up. Yeah. There's not really anything to worry about.
No, exactly.
It's no big deal whether they lost their first series since June, finally, to the Brewers. They lost 2 out of 3.
Right.
The first series that they've lost since June 4th, since that June 4th through 5th or 6th. And this is a series that the Dodgers could easily lose, but it's not the end of the world. The sky is not falling. We've got Godley tonight, who's got a better ERA than Hill, who's his opponent across the field. You've got Ryu and Ray tomorrow. Ray's got a better ERA than Ryu.
Right.
And then on Thursday, you've got Maeda and Greinke. And Greinke's got a better ERA than... So, I mean, if you're looking at it from, if you're betting baseball,
Right.
I think the Dodgers are minus 120 tonight or something like that. But, I mean, the start is...
Yeah.
It's the bullpen, that becomes a little dodgy for the Diamondbacks. But the Dodgers just came off losing their first series. I mean, they're prime, So
Yeah, exactly.
if
Alright.
Arizona wants to solidify their wild card positioning, with these three pitchers who have better seasonal ERAs than the three Dodger pitchers that they're starting against, they need to make some hay.
Yeah, they got to make a move.
So it wouldn't surprise me to see an Arizona sweep. They're crushing the ball. I mean, they're just crushing the ball. Martinez has hit, 13, 14 home runs since he's come over?
Yeah, he's just...
Lamb and Goldschmidt are solid.
Yeah.
I think the only bad news they had was that their one middle infielder who was in a rehab start and he broke his wrist. He got hit again. I'll have to think of the name.
Yeah,
but he's been out. But
is it Pollock?
no, Pollock is already on the DL,
that's
but
right.
it was the other guy. I'll have to think about it. But talking about the Dodgers, the September call-ups are coming up. I don't think the Dodgers are going to make a lot of moves. There's Ethier who
Ethiers doing well at
will come
Oklahoma
up
City,
and probably get some at-bats.
Yeah.
Verdugo's another left-handed bat. Did they want to see him? I'm guessing they do, but he's just going to sit the bench, and
Yeah,
I don't know
sure.
that he's going to get a lot of starts because it's not likely that Verdugo's going to be on the playoff roster. I don't think Ethier is either, but I think they want to give him a chance.
Yeah,
a lot of lefties,
Yeah, you got... Yeah.
except they'll likely bring up Trace Thompson. It's that Walker Buehler who I would love to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give him a few...
Get him some innings. I think
it's a great opportunity when the games don't really matter.
No.
And what do you think they're going to do with Jock Peterson?
Again, another lefty. They're going to bring him up. They're going to bring him up because he could make a playoff roster. He's a good defender, but he's never going to play center field again.
No.
Not with Granderson in the lineup now. And he's just shown that he's not a big league hitter.
No.
Yeah.
He's just not a big league hitter. And if I'm, and again, that's why a guy like Joe Madden looks across at guys who are, struggling like a Jock Peterson or whatever and says something like, we match up great. We match up really great. Well, that's, it's because you were under 500 for a long time and now you're finally starting to win again. You got essentially the same team you had last year,
Yep.
but now you're figuring out how to win. You're not going to be as good as that team, but I get mad in saying that sort of thing, but I think he looks at guys like Jock Peterson, across the bench and thinks, can't believe we're going to lose to these guys, Jock has not been. I mean, he's tinkering with his swing while he's in the bigs. The big leagues is not the place to tinker with
don't
your
do that
your
there.
swing.
No, that's
just not.
Get that straightened out in spring training.
Mm-hmm.
During the off-season.
Seager's got the night off tonight. So I think the thing for Roberts is, it's not going to get out of control. Even if you lose another series, even if you get swept against the Diamondbacks, just keep doing what you're doing. Get the guys, who need the rest,
Get
the
them
rest.
healthy, yeah.
Get the guys who need the at-bats. Gonzalez's bat looks as slow as it did
It's terrible.
before.
It's no improvement there.
Before he went on the DL, not an improvement. You got two lefty bats at first base. Utley was playing there the other night. It's like, wow, they're if you're another team in playoffs in a 5-game series or 7-game series, and you look at it and you're thinking, wow, there's some holes, and that's one of them. That trying to be loyal to Adrian Gonzalez, yet wanting the best guy there.
Yeah.
You lose nothing defensively. You probably gain a little bit because Bellinger's younger.
Right.
And hitting-wise and certainly power-wise, Bellinger's the guy. Bellinger strikes fear into people. Nobody is going to worry about throwing a fastball in a leverage situation to Adrian Gonzalez in the postseason. Nobody.
Yep.
Nobody.
That's right.
And once it gets to the lefties in the bullpen, he's worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Bellinger's not. He can hit lefties. He can hit righties.
Oh yeah.
So there's a possibility that even Gonzalez doesn't have a guaranteed spot in the playoff roster.
And Bellinger, kind of, got the Dodgers in this position.
That's right.
So it's
Everything
kinda
started
like you
when
want to
he
stick
came.
with your young guns and instead of kind of being loyal to all to the veterans.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Little transition period. What are the contracts on Gonzalez and Ethier? Are they up?
Ethier's done.
Ethier's done, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gonzalez has a year or two.
Yeah, he had a
big contract
contract,
coming
yeah.
over from the Red Sox.
Red Sox,
It was,
yeah.
it was a gigantic contract. So, I'm we want to win. We want to win in the postseason, and
Yeah.
I don't know that Gonzalez is a guy you can just continue to stick in the middle of the lineup. If they were batting him seventh, if they were in
Yeah.
a World Series or something and they were batting him seventh as a DH or something like that, I'm okay with that. If they got a righty and they want to load it up with lefties and Bellinger's at first and Gonzalez is DH,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want Bellinger there. I
Oh,
want
exactly.
Bellinger there.
Yeah, I think he's got to be there. I mean,
He draws walks.
yeah.
He doesn't hit into a lot of double plays.
Power, good power.
Great speed, fastest guy on the team. So, Puig needs to continue being the professional hitter that he's been. He's been terrific.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just been terrific.
Yeah.
Still can't hit lefties.
No.
Still can't hit lefties. And again, that's just like one of those things where you can't keep him out of the lineup because he's such a force defensively.
Yeah.
But, all you got to do is throw lefties against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's awful. 180, 190 tops,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, below 200.
Yeah.
That's hard to understand.
And again, those are the things that I nitpick as a Dodger fan.
Right. Well,
About when I worry about them in the postseason. It's those little things, and then a lefty for a high leverage situation out of the bullpen. Those guys are dumpster. Singrani and Watson have been just dumpster fires.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, in leverage situations, they're awful. They can get guys out when they have a little bit of a lead, but with the high leverage,
Yeah, you don't
close
want 'em in
game,
there.
they throw a lot of pitches, they get hit a lot, they walk a lot of guys.
Yep.
Watson has not been the answer,
No.
and we're going to go to the postseason with probably one reliable lefty, and it's going to be Avalon.
Yeah.
That worries me a little bit. I like, Ryu in the pen, but hasn't been exceptional against lefties. So I worry about that. These are the things that keep me up at night with the 91 win team.
Yeah, exactly. The Angels
One last thing. I just
Yeah.
wanted to point out that the Giants have been eliminated. Okay? They've been eliminated. I just want everybody to be reminded, San
You
Francisco
mean they
Giants
stuck around this long?
eliminated. Gone.
The Angels continue their up and down performance. Every time you want to give up on them, they come back and they win a game they shouldn't. They're hanging
Finding
right
ways
in
to
there.
win.
What's that?
Finding ways to win.
Finding ways to win.
And sometimes finding ways to lose.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating
Yeah.
thing. It's just
Yeah.
when you think they've turned the corner, they lose some games. But then they have a game where they'll spin a 3-1 type game.
Like last night.
Yeah, like last night, and you go, okay, that's better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know what to make of them.
They, like I say, it's just Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I mean, Trout right now is not on his game, obviously. 0 for 17, 3 for 31.
Mm-hmm.
One of the games we were at, he came up. I think it was the 8th inning, bases loaded, 2 out, and a 1-run game. With Texas, I think it's Texas. And he couldn't deliver. But then, like you say, they turn around and win games that they shouldn't. They're only still one game out in the wild card, one game behind the Twins.
But things are sort of
So-
piling up behind them You know,
Oh yeah.
that's what would concern me.
And I think the scary thing is too is, you know, watching Haney come back his first 3 starts. I mean, can you imagine if we had him on opening day? I mean, I think the wild card race would be a little bit different.
Oh, he was
I mean,
terrific
he's
last night.
last night. And I mean, you know, his first start, you know, I thought it was okay, to be honest with you.
Without being off that
yeah,
long.
I thought velocity
Year
was
and a
there.
half.
I just thought the command was, you know, he was leaving pitches up. But, I mean, he kind of went into a bad situation because that's when Baltimore's offense was starting to figure it out again. And
Right.
so he kind of got thrown to the wolves there. But, I mean, you know, you look at Haney and Bridwell and, you know, Ramirez, you know, for next year. I don't know what they're going to do with Shoemaker. You know, I think Nolasco's obviously got to go. But, you know, there's a little bit, you know, for an Angel fan, there's a little bit of a hope.
Yeah, now they're going to make, I think, Alex Miller a starter.
Yeah.
Richards is going to come
And you
back.
got Meyer, Richards,
Meyer, yeah.
Tropiano.
Yeah.
I just, you know, the one thing that, you know, I was pulling, you know, my hair out last night was there's no way we could watch this for the next 5 years, Pujols batting 3. I think they got to go out next year and they got to go get a bat and they got to, you know, kind of put things aside and be like, hey, you know what? If for us to be competitive and for us to win, we're going to have to put them down in the 5th or 6th hole. Because, I mean, putting them 3, you know, after Trout, I mean, and the thing that you know, annoys me is, you know, Trout gets on base.
Trout's getting walks now.
And then,
Yeah.
you know, we don't steal him and then, you know, blink of an eye, it's a double play, you're out of the inning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, it's getting
Yeah,
to the
they're
point.
same thing. Bases loaded, 1 out.
Yeah.
Double play.
I mean, it's you know, a go-to. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not typically what you think of when you think of
No.
social baseball.
No.
You're
No.
going station to station, but they're almost forced to at this point. You know, with what they've got in the lineup in the
Yeah.
middle. Trout's not getting a lot of protection.
No.
You know, there,
Yeah.
which could be part of the, you know, pressing a little bit, trying to do too much. 3 for 31, you said.
Mhm.
Yeah.
0 for, you know, 1 for his last 17, or is it 0 for his
He's
last?
0 for 17.
0 for
yeah.
17. Nobody's worried that that's going to last.
No.
But the thing is that every game matters right now.
It does.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it does.
every game matters. And so if they're pitching around him and he's not hitting it hard someplace, or he's hitting in bad luck, steal him. You know, hit and run.
He's getting on base.
Yeah,
You know, do
he's getting on
something with
base.
him.
Plus, you're playing teams, you know, in your division and teams that are in the wild card race. You got to beat those teams. You know, you can't lose 3 out of 4 to Texas at home.
And that's the other thing too, you know, being an Angel fan, and you know, I was talking to a friend today. It's just, you know, pick a side. Either are they gonna, you know, lose 10 out of their last 12 and be, you know, officially done, or are they gonna win 12 out, you know, the next 13 and, you know, still make us competitive? Because that happened 2-3 years ago when, you know, they were all the way down the last week of the, you know, last game of the season.
Yeah.
And we blew it, and it was, you know, heartbreaking. So it's just
Right.
like, you know, pick a side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do
Either
this
you know,
anymore.
pull that Band-Aid
Yeah.
off fast, break up with me, but do it fast.
Do it fast.
Right?
Stop giving us hope.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're hanging around.
Yeah.
They're hanging around, and even just getting a chance to go to the postseason, you got to pick it up. Guys are getting healthy. There's some promise there.
That's why I think the wild card is a good thing. A lot of people didn't like it, but look at all these teams that are. There'd be no interest in the Angels, Orioles, Mariners, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, or Texas if it wasn't for the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and at least maybe that's bringing fans out. It's keeping it, people are talking about it. There's interest there. I wouldn't really be that interested in the Angels if they were, you know, if it wasn't for the wild card situation.
The only thing I wish, and I think Major League Baseball will do it in maybe the next 2-3 years, but I think instead of having a 1-game playoff, I think you got to make it a best of 3. Just
yeah, that
kind of
sounds tough.
You know, I mean, because, you know, you celebrate, you made the playoffs, and then the next day, you know, you're packing up your locker, going home.
I think, you know, to play the devil's advocate and be on the other side, as a Dodger fan this year, I don't want to sit around and wait for you wild cards to get your, you know, get your business done. And that's always the fear when you've got, you know, in the NBA, it's typically, you know, the best teams advance. You know, there aren't a lot of upsets, but you get the best teams playing the best basketball towards the end. You know, the NFL, you know, they're little. It's a 1-game thing. You know, anything can happen in the playoffs. But you know, baseball has been sort of unique in that somebody gets hot and they can get it going. But the thing you don't want is to have a wild card team get hot because the people,
Because they're not
teams
playing, yeah.
that you want to see who have the best record are sitting around waiting for them.
Yeah.
And they
their-
could and they
their
could do
aces
it.
have to
I
go.
mean, they could change, scheduling wise around. They can make kind of like an NHL postseason and go, back to back, maybe day off, fly home, and then start that next series right away. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I think going forward, I would like, just a best of three, just because, I don't know, just for, fan purposes.
So the the Yankees are number 1, Twins are 2. Now that series, if it ends up that way, is that a 3 or 5 game series?
It'd be best of 5. No, yeah, best of 5.
Yeah,
for
the
first
only
round.
1 game series would be
The divisionals are,
divisional.
yeah.
Divisional.
Okay. Did anybody watch the exhibition between McGregor and?
I want to know why you're so against that. Justin was telling me you're anti.
Justin watched it. I guess he streamed it. I guess he streamed it on the computer or something. He watched it. I don't know. I just.
You're grumpy.
I thought it was better than, I thought it kind of lived up to what it was.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that it did live up to the hype.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. I'll give it that. Went 13 to 11 rounds,
No, went
10.
10.
10 rounds.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Um,
stopped him in the 10th. I watched it with a bunch of older teenagers and young adults. And so, as my friend who invited me over said, it's the snowboarding versus the skiing bunch. So they're the snowboarders, and they're the MMA guys, and they're
Right.
the ones who were saying, he's, McGregor's gonna knock him out, and he's gonna do this, and boy, it's like, stop it.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the best striker in the MMA. What I saw was a guy who had 2 inches of reach on an opponent that was 12 years his senior, right? Who couldn't quite punch hard enough to get the job done.
He's been away for 2 years
Yeah.
as well.
So yeah, exactly. So McGregor, this didn't open up anything. McGregor made McGregor better. This didn't make the MMA better, because
Right.
everybody in boxing knows that if you can box, you'd be a boxer. And he may be the best striker in the MMA,
Right.
but he's not a great boxer. He was
Correct.
pretty good against a 40-year-old man who hasn't boxed in a couple of years, who he had 2 inches of reach on and 10 years on.
Right. Right.
That's it.
yeah.
That's it. He was like, he outpunched, he landed more punches than Mayweather in the first 3 rounds. And depending on who was judging it, I thought McGregor won 2 of the first 3 rounds, right? 2 judges had him winning 1 of the first 3 rounds. One judge had him not winning any of the first 3 rounds. So the only thing they could agree on, and one judge had it 89-81, another had it 88-82, and then somebody had it 87-84. He won a few rounds.
Right.
I mean, he acquitted himself nicely. He's outpunched, outlanded Mayweather during the first 3 rounds, 51-40, because Mayweather was feeling him out. But then it was just devastating from that point on. It was like 120-60.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of complaining. He's taken much more punishment than this. He's got knees in the head. They shouldn't have called the fight. And it's like, there's no standing 8 count in Nevada.
No.
There's no standing 8 count. So we don't want his head bashed in. And he was suspended, medical suspension for 2 months, right? So he can't do anything. It's just a technicality. He's not going to box again. But they, the doctors looked at him and said, you're on a medical suspension because you got your ass kicked. And so you can't do anything. You can't box. You can't spar. Nothing. That's Nevada telling him that after the fight.
Right.
Because that's how badly he got beaten. So call it a moral victory for the MMA. That was a 40-year-old Mayweather. Sure, still pretty good, but not anywhere near the kind of fighter that he was in his prime.
No.
And it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, that's-
But I'm one of those traditionalists who's like, if you were a good boxer, you'd be a boxer. And even if he stopped right now doing MMA and just planning to box, he realized by looking at across that ring at 40-year-old Mayweather, it's a pretty damn good fighter, and I didn't have enough.
No.
And the nonsense he was spewing afterwards, saying, "Oh, I wasn't hurt. I was tired.
Yeah.
I was just tired."
Yeah.
He didn't look tired to me.
No.
He looked hurt. His head was like this for a time being.
If they would have let that keep going, I mean, he would have been done by the next round.
And that's what I heard a lot. Totally. And probably even in that round.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can't be, 3 knockdown rule. I mean, he was there to be punished. And so when that ref, for anybody who to say, look, he stopped it too soon or whatever, that's nonsense. That referee knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't defending himself. He was teetering over. Mayweather was about to tee off of him, and he threw his hands up. And that was the right thing to do.
Right.
And that's been verified by the Nevada Boxing Commission, and who gave him a medical suspension for 2 months because he was that beat up. Mayweather didn't get a medical suspension. He's fine to spar and continue to do, boxing activities. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought he was better. McGregor was better than I expected, but it sort of played out the way that I thought.
Yeah.
He'd come out.
Yeah.
He'd land some punches. He did some funky things with the mashing
Hammer
down,
strikes,
the chopping, which are MMA type things,
Right.
and the refs sort of let it slide a couple of times. But he didn't tackle him or take him to the ground.
Yeah. I thought it went longer than I thought it was going to probably go 5 or 6 rounds,
Yeah.
So, I mean, have to go 10, I was, I thought it was enjoyable.
Oh, yeah,
But
absolutely.
you knew Mayweather at one point was just going to tee off on him. You knew that. I don't care how big of a McGregor fan you were. You knew that Mayweather was going to just wait. He was just waiting, basically.
Yeah. But, I think the interesting thing is that anybody who thought that there was no way that McGregor was going to land any punches on him, he did land punches.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of really good uppercuts early. His jab was very good at times. But it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't doing any damage.
Yeah. Right.
And once he hit him with that one big uppercut, McGregor had to know,
Uh-oh.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
That didn't even
Phase him,
stop
huh?
him at all. Yeah. He just went Mayweather didn't get to 49-0 and now 50-0 by having a glass jaw.
Right, exactly.
He's taking some punches. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Would I watch a McGregor fight another boxer? Of course I would. Will I watch McGregor fight MMA fights? Sure. Yeah. But I don't want any more guys crossing over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
McGregor is sort of the elite that could do it. There's nobody probably who can strike the way he does. He went into that. He made weight, but he went in at close to 170.
Yeah.
And again, giving probably 12 to 15. Mayweather gave him 12 to 15 pounds. So again, for me, it's you're 12 years younger, 2 inches more, longer reach. 12 to 15 pounds on this guy.
Southpaw.
And you're a southpaw, and you still didn't even phase him.
Yep. Yeah, it's got to be discouraging.
Imagine him fighting like a Triple G or a Canelo. I mean, obviously those guys are a little heavier, but he could fight probably at that weight.
Yeah.
He wants no piece of it.
Oh, I wouldn't, no.
That's going to be a
Take
good
your
fight.
money and run and just stay at MMA.
So Triple G and Canelo, that's in a couple weeks, right?
Couple weeks.
That's going to be good.
I'm looking forward to it.
I have no
And you
idea.
need to get on the bandwagon, John. I mean, come on. You don't like men striking each other in the face?
I'm not a big MMA fan. I probably haven't given it a chance. Be honest with you, I haven't given it a real chance.
I don't need to bring it up.
All right, guys, I guess I'll do it then. We are out.
Good night.
Right.